we want to thank the government and people of China and commit to the ongoing prevailing friendship that we have between the countries.
Let me extend a special good morning to you and to welcome you to this very simple but profound ceremony, which marks the handing over of some 50 pieces of table tennis equipment. And we are always pleased to be associated with the Chinese government. And over the years, they have been strong supporters and contributors to the movement of education in the Guyana context, and we really appreciate what the People's Republic of China would have been doing over the years. And so it is not by mistake. I was just telling Minister that we're moving in this direction. Recently at the last Olympics, we saw a sign of great hope. I think it was the first time we've gotten past the first rung at the Olympics, and things could only get better as we have our young people engage in this particular sport. And if you start early, there's a strong possibility that you'll become better as the years develop. And all of what we're doing is in keeping with the vision of the Ministry of Education of producing students that are rounded, students that are balanced, and students who could enjoy education and at the same time contribute to the development of this nation. And so, again, we're happy to be present at this very important activity. And so, at this juncture, I will call upon the president of the Guyana Table Tennis Association, who was a national player himself and who did extremely well as a player. Up to this day, I still call him champ. So I'm going to take this opportunity to call the champ to the mic. Please put your hands together, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hudson. Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Priya Manichan, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Her Excellency Mrs. Gao, Mrs. Fazia Bash, Deputy Chief Education Officer Administration, other senior functionaries of the Ministry of Education, Mrs. Wan Kui, Public Affairs Officer, People's Republic of China Embassy, executive members of the Guyana Table Tennis Association, members of the media, head teachers and students of recipient schools. Our CEO indicated today is quite a significant and symbolic activity for the development of sport in Guyana, more particularly as it relates to sports development in Guyana and in the education sector. This is truly testimony to the bonds and friendship, respect and collaboration between the government of China, government of Guyana, the peoples of China and Guyana. The journey of today's proceedings began with many meetings between the GTTA and the embassy, understanding that we could leverage the support of China as a key ally who is strong in the sport of table tennis and has been a key partner for Guyana in the realms of medical, agriculture, sports, arts, science, and other fields. These negotiations resulted in an MOU which is based on a scene, the embassy agreeing to players traveling to China to participate in high-level engagement, in which 5 of our top national players participated in a high-yield training center in Heavy Zendeng for 2 months. The provision of table tennis rackets, nets, and other peripherals, with a pledge of 160 tables for the development of a national table tennis for schools and communities program, which is testimony here today with this presentation. Opportunities for our coaches to visit China to learn of their methodologies and train. Opportunities for our players from China to visit Guyana and train with our players. And then finally, the support for building of a home for the development of the sport in Guyana. which is something that's currently ongoing, and there's negotiations between the association, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, and other stakeholders. We believe that this project is significant in the context that it provides a framework and key pillars for the development of the sport, grounded in the education sector, because the education sector, as we know, has a large target audience of students who we as an association, we rely on for talent identification and development. I want to say that this project is not in abstract. I think when we developed and coined with the embassy and the ministry, we thought about a couple of things. One, how could this project be sustained? How could it be implemented? And how can it be impactful? And in this regard, we decided that one, we'll seek to implement it across Guyana in a mass participation fashion, utilizing students between the ages of 6 to 18 years old in all the education districts across Guyana. We will utilize our certified coaches who will visit schools on a resident or cluster basis to engage and orient our students in training and in competition, among other developmental pathways. The program will be supplemented with training for teachers at the targeted schools to engage them in a 12-hour program which will ensure that they become competent, at least to provide fundamental training for the students. The organizing of school teams and leagues for inter-house, inter-school, inter-district, and culminating in national championships. And this would yield to a talent identification project for the Guyana Table Tennis Association, because the talent from the schools will now filter into our system for national representation. I wish to say that this contribution is quite valuable because we've seen in the last pandemic what not having resources could do to our students. Physical education truly plays a critical role. And with the first tranche of equipment provided by the embassy, we were able to still continue to engage students who were doing the physical education program and preparing for the CXC examinations. One of the key prerequisites for the program is that schools must ensure that they take good care of the equipment and that access to the equipment in terms of recreational play and structured training programs are available. That the establishment of inter-house teams at the various age groups, which would be 13, 11, 15, and 18 years and under. Each school must have a girls' team as a prerequisite, as a recipient. That the GTTA will continue to support each schools in planning those events for inter-house and inter-school competition. That they must participate in the competitions of the GTTA with agreement from the education departments. That the regional departments must pledge support for sustaining the programs. And working through the Ministry of Culture, the Guyana Olympic Association, for the contracting of coaches who will engage students over time. Today I'm quite elated as somebody who played the sport, and I want to say on behalf of the executive committee, the Vice President, Mr. Andrew Daly, and Mr. Lyndon Johnson here, that we're truly pleased by this contribution, and we look forward for the continued support and growth of the sport with the inputs from China. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe, for clearly defining the way forward in terms of how we will treat with the schools. And I think there's a clear plan, as he would have alluded to. I think what is important, though, is for us to not just have the plan on paper, but to ensure that the plan is executed to the maximum so that we could have the kind of impact that we want to have on our schools. And I'm sure at some point in time we'll see the Chinese coaches also spending time in Guyana and bringing that kind of gifting I saw a video once, I think it was a 5-year-old Chinese player, 5-year-old, and she was actually standing up to professional player, you know what we call the rally? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that kind of 5 years, because the training started very early. And so I thought about what will happen when she reaches 10 and 15. And then you begin to understand why China doesn't lose at the Olympics in those in that particular sport. So thank you, Mr. Monroe. So we move on with the program now, and I will now invite Her Excellency Madam Gao, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, to address us. Please put your hands together. She comes.
Honorable Minister of Education, Ms. Priya Manikchand, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Hudson, President of Guyana Table Tennis Association, Mr. Godfrey Monroe, dear teachers and students, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great pleasure to attend today's handing over ceremony and partake the continuous development of table tennis in Guyana. You may know that I just presented my letter of credence to His Excellency President last Friday. So today it's the first time for me to attend such event here. It's my great pleasure. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the famous ping-pong diplomacy. Not long ago, I learned that a Guyanese table tennis player, Mr. George Braithwaite, was on the American table tennis team that visited China in 1971. A table tennis court in New York was named after him in memory of his contribution to the ping-pong diplomacy. It was him and his teammates who sowed the seeds of friendship with sincerity and used the little ping-pong ball to move the big ball. As the ping-pong diplomacy between China and Guyana has also made many achievements. As early as in 1973, when China and Guyana established diplomatic ties for only 1 year, the Guyanese table tennis team was invited to Beijing to participate in the Asian, African, and Latin American Table Tennis Friendship Invitational Tournament. Over the past decades, Chinese table tennis coaches have come here to coach, and the Guyanese table tennis players have also been to China for training. This cooperation project to promote table tennis in primary and secondary schools in Guyana started from 2019. My predecessor, Ambassador Cui Jianchun, initiated it together with the Ministry of Education of Guyana and the Guyana Table Tennis Association, aiming to promote development of table tennis teaching and help the Guyanese students become healthier and stronger. At that time, we donated 50 sets of table tennis equipment to 50 primary and secondary schools covering the 10 regions. This year, we will continue to donate to another 50 schools. I believe the equipment can inspire the students to have stronger interest in table tennis, and playing table tennis can become one of their best memories in teenage years. Just now I talked to my friend. My son is also a teenager, and he spent too much time online with esports. It's not healthy. So he will join me next year, and I will encourage him to start to play table tennis to have practice with you. Sports competitions and exchanges not only bring happiness to people, but also help people from different countries and backgrounds to bridge differences, to eliminate barriers and enhance friendship. China will host the Winter Olympics and Paralympics in Beijing early next year, 2022. It now has entered the countdown of a final 100 days to go. As the world's first double Olympic city to host summer and winter Olympics, Beijing is ready to welcome athletes from all over the world and present splendid, extraordinary, and outstanding Olympic event to everyone. I hope the people of China and Guyana can continue to use table tennis and other sports as a medium to enhance our exchanges and mutual learning, mutual understanding, and to carry on friendship between China and Guyana for generations. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Gao. And we really appreciate the fact that the project started in 2019 and you're still here keeping your word and making the contributions that you plan to make. And I'm saying this because sometimes people start with you and then they stop. But the fact that you're still pressing in to ensure that we, as a people, we continue to build that kind of relationship and to empower people, I think we are very grateful for that. And you mentioned the whole issue of sportsmanship, and there was a time when I couldn't imagine you're in a race or you're in a sport and you've lost, but still you go over and shake the other person's hand. You know, I've seen all kinds of reactions from losers, but it's so nice to know that, you know, in sport we cultivate that kind of relationship, that even in a losing state you could still recognize the person who has done better than you, at least at that moment, and congratulate them. And so it's something that it's a good habit to practice and to cultivate. So we thank you again for staying with us and staying with the program. At this time, we will call upon the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Premani Chan, who will bring the feature address in relation to this program. Let's put our hands together and welcome our minister. She comes.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. More like feature remarks. Ambassador Gao, members of the ministry, senior officers, students, and members of the media, good morning. Thank you all very much for coming. Very simple ceremony, and I think we have the pleasure of forever being the first that hosted Ambassador Gao at an official function. We want to extend the government. I know President Ali would have said to you how very welcome you are, but please accept from us our own very warm welcome from the government and people of Guyana. We expect your time here to be extremely fulfilling. You are going to see not only the work that you do, but you're going to see fruits very early from them. And so I'm very pleased to be here with you on your first official visit of what I expect will be many relations between us. There is no better way to express friendship than to leave with the people who are benefiting from those friendships skills that will take them through a lifetime. And I believe we are very certain that academic pursuits change not only the lives of the children or students making those pursuits, but their generations and families that are attached to them. And so we're not unsure that academic friendships that exchange academic and academia are good, healthy, enduring friendships that will help to sustain the two countries. And we are very grateful that we have had relations with China, which we believe can be buttressed and improved upon, and which we intend to work with to engage our students here in Guyana in academic pursuits in China. This is not, strictly speaking, in the realm of academia. This is sport. But I believe the world has moved past dividing the two. So much so that we're now trying very hard to universally incorporate sport and what used to be considered extracurricular activity in academia, because the benefits have been tremendous. Some mentioned jocularly by the chairperson include the discipline that it takes to excel at any sport. the physical exercise and the benefits those bring to actually focusing and concentrating. The behavioral modes that should be employed when one wins or one loses, the grace that people can learn from that. And so the inclusion of sport and physical activity in what has hitherto been known as extracurricular activity into the academic curriculum has been endorsed universally around the world as being beneficial to the students whose main intention it is to pursue academia. And so these 50 table tennis tables will go to 50 schools. We will ensure that the hinterland high schools and primary tops are first beneficiaries, because we believe we can do much there and they often are left behind. 50 will actually go to half of our high school population, added to the 50 that came before, and the next tranche that we have that we will get, that will be injected into the school system. We believe we can start even earlier, not only in secondary education, but in the primary schools, so that we could have feeder schools into secondary schools. And we believe this is a present and gift that will be that will help us to advance our friendship in a way that allows for the sustainability of that friendship. And we believe this is going to bring tremendous benefit to students who are going to be exposed to same. I myself am a bit of an expert. I challenge any of you. And my first introduction to table tennis was at high school, where we had one single table in this auditorium and everybody fought for it. And I didn't even get to start early because, of course, first formers were last in line. So the fifth formers and fourth formers would usually take up all that break time and lunchtime, and you barely get 2 knocks. But it was an enjoyable sport and an enjoyable exercise, and we didn't mind waiting for hours till you get one little with your table tennis racket in hand until we got one playing. So I can see this being very welcome by the students in the school. And I see we have some of my old students here. I could see us welcoming this very much in the school sector, and it becoming something that is hugely enjoyable to the thousands of children who will be exposed to these. So we want to thank the government and people of China and commit to the ongoing prevailing friendship that we have between the countries. We believe that this kind of friendship that manifests itself in real transfer of skills, transfer of knowledge, is one that bodes well not only for the two countries, but for our wider community as a world. I am very pleased to say that Guyana used to be at a place where we were always on the receiving end of great benefits and contributions. But we're at a place now where we can also contribute. And a conversation started with your colleague ambassador who just left, about Guyana offering its services to train large numbers of persons in China, particularly teachers if necessary, in particular areas like the English language, and doing that through our very renowned Cyril Potter College of Education. And so where before we were always recipients, we also have products that are of value to the world. And our products must reach the rest of the world if we're to be contributing equally. And so you will see Guyana offering far more than we have offered before, in a way that is beneficial to all the parties who will be a party to that agreement, including our country. And I'd be very happy to advance those talks with you, Ambassador Gao. So this morning, at this brief but significant and impactful ceremony, I want to say that you are in a history-making room. where sport is going to take a new interest in the secondary schools, where we are envisioning a different kind of student at the exit level. What do we want our student to be? Not only the extremely sound academic boys and girls that we have seen, not only here, but comparatively speaking in the Caribbean, but also rounded students who have a sport and a language and an instrument under their belt, so that they are more developed in a way that allows them to contribute more to the development of this land. We are redefining, and these presents will help us to do that, what the Guyanese student at the exit level in secondary school ought to look like. And we are going to pursue that passionately with the help of contributions such as these. I thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you again, Minister, for those words of wisdom and how we intend to go forward. As you've always been saying that, we've always been saying the importance of us recognizing students in the interland communities, because sometimes people believe that only people in the city are gifted. As a matter of fact, some people believe that Georgetown is Guyana because they've spent all their lives around the Georgetown and not traveled out to recognize that there are people who are talented and gifted, and therefore it is important that we give them an opportunity to nurture and to cultivate that gift. And so we appreciate the comment, Minister, where the board's half of it will actually go to those schools in the interland. And the Ministry of Education is also in a new season. You heard about not just receiving now, but giving. And so that is a sign of growth, a sign that we're moving forward under the leadership of our Honorable Minister.
I would like to preface first by saying sport, as we all know, is a necessary component in the growth and development of a nation's young population. As such, I stand here grateful on behalf of not only the Ministry of Education, but of all school-going children of Guyana. The People's Republic of China has forever shown its willingness to work with the great nation of Guyana in fostering a love for sport, culture, and academics amongst our youth. The equipment graciously granted onto us, I can assure you, Ambassador Go Haiyan, will be put to good use by the students of Guyana schools. In an attempt to reach across borders and further appreciate the Chinese contribution to Guyana society, I say, Shi Shi Ni, the Nai She Ping Pang, Ki Shubei. Thank you for the table tennis equipment.